Hello students, today we will take up the second poem from your textbook Flamingo. The title of the poem is An Elementary School Classroom in a Slum. This poem has been written by Stephen Spender. Now let us know a few things about the poet. Stephen Spender was born in 1909 and he died in the year 1995. He was a very famous English poet, novelist, and essayist who concentrated on themes of social injustice and the class struggle in most of his work. Through his powerful writings, he established himself as a very prominent poet of the modern age. He was also appointed Poet Laureate Consultant in Poetry to the United States Library of Congress in the year 1965. His poetry reflects his awareness of the wide world lying outside the boundaries of his individual self. Some of the books written by him include The Struggle of the Modern Art, Poems of Dedication, The Edge of Being, and an autobiography, World Within World. Now, before we begin reading the poem, I will give you a brief introduction of the poem. The poem An Elementary School Classroom in a Slum, written by Stephen Spender, describes the social inequalities which are prevailing in the society. Now, in the poem, he describes the condition of the students of an elementary school which is situated in a slum area. So, the poet basically wants to draw attention of everyone towards these poor kids so that their life can be improved and they may get trained to become good citizens rather than criminals. Now let us begin reading the poem. Far, far from gusty waves, these children's faces, like rootless weeds, the hair torn round their pallor, the tall girl with her weighed down head, the paper-seeming boy with rat's eyes, the stunted, unlucky hair of twisted bones, reciting a father's gnarled disease, his lesson from his desk. At back of the dim class, one unnoted, sweet and young, his eyes live in a dream of squirrel's game in tree room other than this. On sour cream walls, donations, Shakespeare's head, cloudless at dawn, civilized dome riding all cities, belled, flowery, Tyrolese valley, open-handed map, awarding the world its world. And yet, for these children, these windows, not this map, their world, were all their futures painted with a fog. A narrow street sealed in with a lead sky, far, far from rivers, caves, and stars of words. Surely, Shakespeare is wicked, the map a bad example, with ships and sun and love tempting them to steal, for lives that slyly turn in their cramped holes. From fog to endless night, on their slag heap, these children wear skins peeped through by bones and spectacles of steel with mended glass. like bottle bits on stones. All of their time and space a foggy slum. So blot their maps with slums as big as doom. Unless governor, inspector, visitor, this map becomes their window, and these windows that shut upon their lives like catacombs. Break open till they break the town, and show the children to green fields, and make their world run azure on gold sands, and let their tongues run naked into books, the white and green leaves open, history theirs whose language is the sun. Now let us move to the explanation of the poem. Far, far from gusty waves, these children's faces, like rootless weeds, the hair torn round their pallor, the tall girl with her weighed down head, the paper seeming boy with rat's eyes, the stunted, unlucky hair of twisted bones, reciting a father's gnarled disease, his lesson from his desk. At back of the dim class, one unnoted, sweet and young, his eyes live in a dream of squirrel's game in tree room other than this. So, the poet here is trying to describe an elementary school classroom which is located in a slum. Now, these slum children look very pathetic. Their faces are pale and they reflect sadness. They are like rootless weeds. Rootless weeds? Weeds are the unwanted wild plants that overgrow and choke other plants also from growing. So, these children in the slum are like rootless weeds as they lack proper nutrition because they are not taken care of, these crops also. So, they are called as rootless weeds as they lack proper nutrition. They are not taken care of by anyone. Moreover, they are unwanted plants which grow on their own without being cared for, and they are totally neglected. Now, the poet talks about the tall girl. The tall girl has a weighed down head as she is burdened with the load of poverty. In fact, she is so subdued and suppressed that her head had bowed down with the burden of her misfortunes in her life. Now, the poet says, the paper seeming boy. Now, the paper seeming boy, he is extremely thin. Why is he compared to the paper seeming boy? Because he is so thin, just like a paper, he is very thin. And he is extremely thin boy and has rat's eyes, because the poor undernourished boy is deprived of all the basic amenities of life. Now he is timid like a rat and full of anxiety. Why? Because he searches for food and security. If we have observed a rat also searches very quickly. He searches for food, and whenever someone runs behind him, he tries to find a secure place for himself. So this boy is also full of anxiety and he's searching for food and security. Now this unfortunate boy, it is told that the poet tells us that this unfortunate boy suffers from malnutrition and his growth is also stunt, which means he's not properly developed. And also, this boy, paper seeming boy, he has also inherited from his father a disease, twisted bones, it is said, which means twisted bones means which are bent, bones are bent and distorted. Okay, so he has inherited this disease. Also, he has inherited the poverty and despair from his parents. Okay, so his body is also deformed because of the twisted bones which he has inherited from his father, from his parents. Now he appears to be as sick as his parents only. Okay, now the poet says, at back of the dim class, one unnoted, sweet and young. Now, there is a sweet, tender-looking student who sits at the back of the class. Now, this boy is different from the others as his eyes live in a dream. His eyes live, it is said. So, his eyes live in a dream, and he is dreaming and probably thinking about a better future, about his better future. So he is lost in his own world, therefore, he is not sad like others. Now, this boy thinks of, the poet says that this boy thinks of squirrel's game. Now, this squirrel's game is a metaphor. We'll discuss about the figures of speech later. Now, this boy wants to enjoy and play freely like the squirrel does in the garden outside. As we all know that the squirrel climbs trees and hides in their holes likewise, the boy also also dreams to be free, and he also wants to enjoy his life like a squirrel, but he cannot, as he must sit in the dull and dreary classroom. Now, in the boy's imagination, tree room, it is said, the hollow in a tree is full of fun, curiosity and mystery. The hole in the tree where the squirrel goes inside, as per the boy, as per his imagination, that tree room is full of fun and curiosity. Therefore, he also dreams of going outside and playing like the squirrel. And this tree room is in contrast to the gloomy classroom wherein all the students are supposed to sit. Okay. Now let's read the second paragraph. On sour cream walls, donations, Shakespeare's head, cloudless at dawn, civilized dome riding all cities, belled, flowery, Tyrolese valley, open-handed map awarding the world its world. And yet, for these children, these windows, not this map, their world, were all their futures painted with a fog. A narrow street sealed in with a lead sky, far, far from rivers, capes and stars of words. So in this paragraph, the poet is telling us that the classroom is not well maintained. Okay. He is describing the walls. On sour creamy walls, he says. So the pale cream walls which were painted maybe long ago with the help of donations, and also there were pictures put up there with the help of donation only. So that place, these things, that the pale cream walls and everything makes the place look more miserable and sad, very gloomy kind of environment. So probably there is a portrait, as said by the poet. He says, Shakespeare head, cloudless at dawn. Now he says that probably there is a portrait of Shakespeare on the wall, and this is ironical as it is put up in a place where there is no serious teaching. Now, when the kids don't know about anything about Shakespeare and all, so what is the meaning or what is the use of them when they see Shakespeare? Okay. So this is ironical as it is put up in a place where there is no serious teaching done for the students living in the slum. Now, cloudless dawn and civilized dome suggests the repetitive life in the slum, the monotonous way of life which the children lead over there in the slum. This depicts that. Cloudless dawn and civilized dome. So these slums are surrounded by the civilized cities though, and the children cannot experience the beauty of the sky at dawn. Okay, and they are unaware of the beauty of this city because the place where they live is a very limited place, and they are supposed to be there only. They are not allowed to, or they are not capable enough to move towards the outskirts of this place. Now all around them are concrete structures of cities, But the life in the slum, now the life in the slum contrasts with the cloudless sky at dawn. Okay, and concrete structures which override the cities. Now it is also said by the poet, there is also a picture of a beautiful valley full of sweet fragrant flowers, and these children of the slum, here the line says, belled flowery Tyrolese valley. So there is picture of a beautiful Tyrolese valley which is full of sweet fragrant flowers, and these children of the slum will never be able to experience this beauty of the Tyrolese valley. Now these children are deprived of this beauty as they are condemned to live in the slums which is full of garbage. Now the poet says, open handed map awarding the world its world. So the open handed map in the classroom contrasts with their world, with the world of the children wherein they live. So the world given to us by God is full of all the bounties, all the beauty, whereas the world of these slum children is full of what? Full of poverty, garbage, hunger, struggle, and everything. Okay. So the world which they see is not the real world, though everything is there on their wall, most of the things. We'll come to know further, we'll read further what all things are there. But then those things make no sense to them because they are living in a very limited manner. They have limited amenities, they have limited opportunities. So their world is confined to the narrow and dusty streets of the slum only. Now it is told, and yet for these children, these windows, not this map, their world. Now, the map in the classroom gives them hopes and aspirations, and it kind of motivates them to explore the world, but the reality is, they will never be able to see that world which is depicted on the map. Again, because of the lack of opportunities given to them by the authorities. Now these children can get the glimpse of the outside world from the window. So for these children, the poet says the world is the window, because the only way through which they can have access to the outside world is the window, are the windows only. So the children can get the glimpse of the outside world from the windows, and it is far, in reality, that world, outside world, is far beyond their reach, and they are far away from that beauty of the nature. Now these slum children have a bleak and foggy future in store for them. The poet says, where all their futures painted with the fog. So their future has been painted by fog, which means it is all dusty. All their hopes and aspirations and everything will go into waste. So these slum children have a bleak and foggy future, and then their future is painted with the fog, which means it is blurred by hopelessness in their life, because they don't have any hope of getting a better life. So there is no hope for the slum children, and instead of the normal blue sky, they live under the lead sky. Now the poet here says, a narrow street sealed with a lead sky, far far from rivers, capes, and stars of words, means that there is no hope in their life, and instead of the normal blue sky, they live under the lead sky, the dark and dull and polluted sky, which shows again the darkness, the dullness. The lead sky depicts what? That there is no hope for them. Now the atmosphere hints at their repetitive, their monotonous life, and the slum children remain confined throughout their lives, confined to the filth and dirt, garbage of the narrow slum streets wherein they live. and also which means that they are away from the glory of natural beauty of the rivers, which in the last line it is said, far, far from rivers, capes and stars of woods, which means that they are away from the glory of natural beauty of the rivers, mountains, stars, etc.